Whistle special live shows. We do these every night. There's football, and even when there is not. And I'm so happy to say I'm your host, Zayn Nabbi, and joining me is the original Wolfpack. We have Ali Howorth in Morocco alongside the kid, Lorenz, who looks Brazilian with those wonderful locks. And then we have the man, the dapper, the man that gets the most love on the show. But, we wish we could have him more on if the national public broadcaster in Cameroon hadn't got him. Francis Nkwain. Gentlemen, so good to see you. I'll let you pick who you want to be in the Wolfpack, but it's fantastic to be around here chopping it all up. For those of you who live under a rock, we see Nigeria and Egypt progress to the quarterfinals. 2 more games take place tomorrow. And if you follow the show, you'll know that I got my prediction woefully wrong yesterday. I said the Mambas were going to strike against the Super Eagles, and they didn't. And a lot of you in the comments on YouTube told me that. So please start populating the chats. I think Rakim was one of our regulars yesterday. He had some love for Ali. Ali, when we go to the mailbag, it's affectionately now become known as the good, the bad, and the Ali because of the direct remarks sent against Ali. Francis, you got some love, but there's still some Nigerians who are putting the heat on Ali. Even harking back to the WAFCON days.
I knew this recording would not go well for me after Nigeria won 4-0. Zayn. These guys are going to be coming for me.
So, listen, let's just get into it. There's 4 brothers around the braai. Let's get talking. Nigeria looking great again, looking like they've continued that fantastic form from the group stages. Taking their opportunities and smashing Mozambique 4-0. Ali, maybe we'll start with you. Just your hot takes, and then everyone can pile in as they like to.
But yeah, I mean, I guess the hot take are the Super Eagles are serious, aren't they? Like, wow. I mean, we kind of I say we. I don't want to put this in my words in your guys' mouths, but after the group stage, for me, it felt like this Nigeria team has shown flashes. Like they've shown that they're good, but they've shown that vulnerability against Tunisia. They've shown that they kind of still aren't the best team. They've conceded a goal in every match. And then today they just came out flying. Like in the first minute, they had a chance. They had that early goal disallowed for Victor Osimhen. They were incredible and they pressed high. I think that's one thing that really struck me is a lot of the big teams at this tournament aren't pressing. They're not pushing forward very much. We're not seeing a lot of that in terms of like your Moroccos, your Algerias, your Senegals. But Nigeria were aggressive. They pressed high. They were physical, and they created so many chances. They took Mozambique apart. I think for me, this was probably the best individual game performance at this tournament.
Yeah, I have to agree with Ali there. I think it was really good to see. Yeah. I think Ali sums it up really nicely.
All right, I'll play referee. Let's go with Francis, and you can tag in after Lorenz. Francis, it's yours.
Okay, sorry. I got it. I was saying, like, I agree with Ali. I was like, he I think it's the way they came out the out of the tunnel. From the minute the referee blew the whistle, they were just straight at Mozambique. They played really forward-thinking, vertical football. It was a joy to see, but it was almost like they went for a stranglehold on Mozambique. We've seen teams that have attempted to maybe keep possession, but there was something very direct about Nigeria's play today, and I think it's something some of us have expected from them because of the anticipation that they have as a nation about delivering at this tournament. I think it's something that a lot of us have not paid attention to. But in Nigeria's frustration with not qualifying for the World Cup is real. And I think this collective of players and the management feel like they can quell the angst that exists in Nigerian football at present if they can deliver something to the Nigerian population at this tournament. And I think these players don't need any more motivation. People know they have the talent. The people who are scoring the goals, who are delivering for them from back to front. But people like Osimhen knows he's supposed to be playing with the very best at the World Cup. and he got some personal stake. And Lookman, whose season is coming together now, but maybe didn't have the best part of the end of the year previously, so to speak. These players are all stepping up and saying, we know we could have done better to make sure we were part of the World Cup, but why don't we make this our victory almost? And it feels like that's what they're going out for. They're not shying away from the challenge, and it's a real joy to see. And it's one of the reasons why I was saying I was really hoping Cameroon doesn't meet them early on, because it was a really good game.
I just wanted to add on that. It feels like just at this AFCON, everything that Coach Eric Schall was trying to put together during that World Cup campaign that he came into is now obviously starting to just bear fruits. Because I was super impressed with him during the previous AFCON. I don't know if you guys can hear me, but yeah, I was super impressed with him during the previous AFCON with Mali because they were in the same group as Bafana. So I got to watch them obviously like at close quarters. I think they were really unlucky not even get to the semi final. That game against Cote d'Ivoire was like, I'm sure if that game was played over 9 times out of 10, they'd probably have won that. I don't know what sort of voodoo was on Mali in that game that they somehow just didn't get over the line. But I think it's also part of the offline discussions we had of like some teams just having that divine right to get to the latter stages of the competition because of who they are and not what they can produce on the pitch at times. So, like when Mali was playing under Shell, it was a very fluid, um, a diamond, very modern, like a Medulani Mukwena esque style of football that I was like, it really gave me hope that there's good young African coaches on this continent. So when he joined Nigeria, I was like, kind of like, wow, like this could be a match made in heaven. But he tinkered with his system all the time because he wasn't getting results with that same system that he wanted to implement that came from Mali. And now he's going slowly but surely back to it. And obviously, he's got a lot of good players in the Super Eagles team. And it was just a matter of fact of finding which players can thrive in the system. And to see somebody like Aiko Adams come in and then it
Mm.
clicks I would have never have called that one. But that's why I'm not a football coach. So yeah, I think they're peaking at the right time. And obviously, with positivity around the Super Eagles, the fans, even the media that were cursing him for closing training sessions for this past week, or like close as many training sessions as you want, guys. Like if this is the type of performances you're gonna put out, then great. But I have to say, Mozambique probably punched above their weight to get to this point. So a bigger test definitely awaits in the next round, whether it's Congo or Algeria. So I wouldn't be too, over the top about the Super Eagles yet, but they are looking really, really good from what we've seen so far.
Well, I'm going to come in here because if you are joining us now, please populate the comments, fill it up. We've got Francis, we've got Lorenz. They're like a big five. If we were the big five in the wild, I guess what would I be? I would be the elephant or the rhinoceros. You see me a lot. Ali would be like the lion. He's no. I'm going to take that back. Ali would be like also a lion or not elephant or rhinoceros. We're big, we're heavy. You see us, but he's got the bigger personality, whereas I've got
What are you saying about my physique, Zayn?
no. I'm
What
I've
about
been
just
trying
saying.
to I've been
what
trying to
about the
slim down.
main? What
Listen,
about the main?
we got the main. Well, you see, there's only
It's
one
gone.
lion here, and there's an indomitable lion, so it's got to be
You're
Francis.
lucky you didn't say you were the giraffe.
And then the leopard is Lawrence because he's so beautiful and everyone wants to see him, but it's a rarity. You got to come on at night to find him.
Look at
And that
I'm
would
that
be
guys.
hair.
I'm
Look at that
reporting
hair.
from. I'm reporting from Rabat in bed, and I've got The winter AFCON is dealing with me. I've got some strepsils.
Strepsils.
I've got
The,
some.
the AFCON essentials.
Yeah, no, it's been
On the
rough.
whistle, brought to you by Strepsils.
I just want to say,
Yeah.
like, I think Francis is the only one who's probably experiencing reasonable weather in
Yeah.
today, while the rest of us suffer. And this is the final thing I was going to say before I get my question to Ali, because it would be crass to call Firdaus our water buffalo. So I'm not going to do that. Our women's football editor would not appreciate me calling her the water buffalo, even though she sort of is when she bulldozes me with her opinions in the WhatsApp group. So I sort of feel like Firdaus could just go through all of us. She's fearless. But Ali, I digress. I'm having a bit of fun. The comments are coming in. Tell me, you've heard what Lorenz and Francis have said. Lorenz is saying these are championship contenders. You have consistently said that this Super Eagles team are unlikely to win. Are you changing that view now? Or is the draw still going to unravel them?
Zayn, it's so hard, right? Because I think what we can say is this is the most dominant performance at this AFCON, right? Yes, Lorenz is saying Mozambique punched above their weight, and they absolutely have, and they probably they're very disappointing. I thought we would see more from them, but Nigeria just snuffed them out. Not a single shot on target, complete dominance, and I think you look through. I love what Lorenz is saying about Eric Schell because I completely agree with him. He's bringing these really unique tactics to the AFCON, whether it's that diamond at the last AFCON. Now it's like it's a box midfield, which again is something you really associate with kind of Premier League teams, with European sophisticated club football when you have months and months to train and to set up these systems. And again, what I really loved about Nigeria, right, is say you compare them to Morocco, right? Morocco, one of the big disappointments with them is the lack of creativity, right? Because their only two kind of essentially ways of attacking the team is give it to Brahim Diaz and hope he does something, or they get it out wide and they cross it. And that's kind of all Morocco have had to offer. Now, in many ways, you saw all most of Nigeria's chances is the same thing almost, crosses, right? But the difference is the way Nigeria set up those crosses is it's intentional, right? They're cutbacks, they're whipped in crosses. They're not just, we've got a back four, we've got this team set up in front of us, we're just going to launch a long ball into Osimhen, which they can do on occasion. But instead, it's Akor Adams running the channel on one side, Ademola Lookman running the channel on the other side. Ademola Lookman, Zayn, was incredible. 3 assists and a goal. He's already on what? Is it 5 assists and 2 goals this tournament? Unbelievable. 4. Apologies. Unbelievable. Like, Sadio Mane has the record for the most assists. Obviously, assists being something that hasn't been tracked historically up until the 2000s. With 9 assists now. Lookman's already coming after him, and his deliveries from set pieces have been great. And I think for me that's why Nigeria have been so impressive, is there's a kind of a completeness in this performance. Now, as we've said, everything needs to be couched in the context of the tournament, right? They had, on reflection, a very easy group, right? Uganda were very disappointing. Tanzania were surprisingly good, but only after Nigeria played them, right? Tanzania grew into this tournament. And Tunisia have been not a huge disappointment because I didn't have huge hopes and expectations of them, but they have been a disappointment. Particularly, they've shown very little going forward, and yet they scored 2 goals against Nigeria. Now, as we've said, next game, they're coming up against the heavyweight. Whether it's Congo or Algeria, both teams have only conceded 1 goal, right? These are 2 serious teams that both have been defensively excellent, and particularly in Algeria's case, can attack you with so many different options, with so many different ways. So again, I think we've got to measure expectation in the same way that I said Algeria have been the best team at this AFCON, but I don't think they'll win it because of the run they have to get to the final. I still think it's the same for Nigeria. Like, for them now, the real tournament begins. And for some of these other tournaments like Morocco, it's the same. But can Nigeria beat Algeria/DRC, potentially Morocco, and then potentially a Senegal and Cote d'Ivoire? That is a huge ask. So for me, yes, they were brilliant, and I think they've massively gone up in my estimation because I thought they would win today, but I thought it would be a bit ugly. My prediction was that they would win 3-1 and it would be a bit tight until the end of the game. But they've gotten blown away Mozambique. So I do think that they've found a system. And like Lorenz said, it's been hard for Eric Schell because what we got to remember is, right, he comes into the team in that World Cup qualifiers having them having a terrible start already prior to him joining under Jose Peseiro. Right, was it both Lesotho and Zimbabwe? Like terrible start.
Yeah.
And so then he's trying to find a system. He's trying to find. Bear in mind, the only games that they didn't win, with the exception, I think, of the draw in South Africa, Victor Osimhen was missing for all of them, right? So this is a team, and Victor Osimhen is a player that rightfully so demands you to build a team around him. And so suddenly you're playing without him. Now, I'm not making excuses. Nigeria should not have done as badly as they did in the World Cup qualifier. But I think the stat was like in his first 6 games or something, Eric Schell used 50 different players, something unbelievable like that. He was trying to find a system. And whether he found it by kind of hook or by crook, whether there was an accident or what, he's found the system that really does work, gets the best out of his players. And the really good thing I think about it is in the Uganda game showed is they've got depth, right? Because it's a system that, yes, Akor Adams has been really good. Paul Anuachu against Uganda was superb in that similar role, which was very surprising. I did not see him being able to do that. Same with Rafael Onyedika coming in for Frank Onyeka. So they have a lot of options. Yes, listen, I don't want to get carried away because the reality is the tournament isn't won by the team that plays the best football, that beats the minnow by the most goals. It's when it comes to these big crunch games. And I think Nigeria haven't had any of those crunch games yet. Whereas I think a lot of these other big teams, Egypt have played Bafana Bafana, DRC have played Senegal, Algeria have played a very strong Burkina Faso side. So I think we still need to temper our expectations with Nigeria, but they have, considering where they were a month ago, this is really, really impressive.
All right, we're going to take some of your comments quick. Rakim says, thank you for the congratulatory message. Rakim, always a pleasure to have you in our chats. We love you here, particularly Ali, because we think he defies opinion in every part of Nigeria. We have Alfred Wakoma 7080 saying the Super Eagles are looking like the real deal. Yeah, I got to say, sounds like Ali is now trying to talk himself out of a corner, or is he? And then we have Rafense and Paleng saying Eric Schell is a top coach, unlike the previous Portuguese tactician, Jose Peseiro, who is very defensive. And we've obviously had Rakim saying Nigeria played Tunisia. But look, we've seen the Super Eagles, and they're looking really good. And this maybe gives us a chance to maybe turn the page. We got to get to Egypt, who really struggled against. Are they the former Squirrels, who are the Cheetahs now?
Cheetahs.
They're the squirrels that somehow turned into cheetahs, which can I just say, how disappointing is that? Like, the squirrels was great. Yes, it's like a bit quirky and a bit funny, but you stood for something, you were unique. Everyone knew who the squirrels are. When you say the cheetahs, who are the cheetahs? Like a rugby club? I don't know.
That's the funniest thing. The Cheetahs are a rugby team from South Africa. But anyways, we're not going to go.
Come on, do better, Benin.
Rugby.
Do better.
Those on other days. But before we get to that, because I want to give Benin their love, and obviously, former Nigerian coach doing some really nice work there and making them into a very combative unit. In the last few months, it's been so close so far for Gernot Raw and his team, whether it was World Cup qualification or the game against Egypt today. But Algeria versus the DRC, guys. I'm still putting my neck out. I think DR Congo are going to go deep in this tournament. They're semi-finalists or winners in my eyes. How do you guys see that game coming up tomorrow? Because that is going to be blockbuster.
In my opinion, I think DRC is potentially in the same WhatsApp group as South Africa. I think it's going to be similar to Cameroon, Bafana. DRC are going to play well, and Algeria will go through. Guys, this thing is, I don't know. It's there's no logical explanation for it. DRC are in good form. They're playing good football. Um, you consider them the dark horses, but it's like in the previous editions, we called Guinea the dark horses. We called Burkina Faso the dark horses. They're dark horses for the reason they never get to the cup. You can't even call when Zambia won the cup. They weren't even called dark horses. That was just an anomaly. You know what I mean? But the dark horses in AFCON just never live up to the tag. You know what I mean? So I've been impressed with DR Congo. They're quite structured, quite tactically sound under De Sabre. And it's probably a coach that many people are punting to replace Hugo Broos in the future, by the way. But yeah, I think Algeria, they just have a different pedigree. Like Francis kept saying, I'm going to beat on that same drum until the end of the tournament because he's right. We see it all the time.
The question I want to ask first of all, Zayn, have you called any game right so far?
Yes, I called Cameroon beating South Africa. Do you
Yeah.
remember that? I was very much. I
Francis,
was
Francis,
very.
don't you remember he was so desperate to tell us that the South Africa were underdogs for that game?
And
Yes.
you were very
I thought
quick
it
to
was his
tell
way
me
of
they
saying
were not.
like, then when we beat you, then we'll say,
Did
okay.
I not call that correctly? Did I not say I'm worried? Did I not say we're going to lose against this Cameroon team? Did I not say all those things?
Maybe my memory fails me, but it's
Okay, Ali,
okay.
back me up
Zay,
on this one.
Zayn, forgive Francis. He missed out on gloating over you yesterday, so he has to bring it back today.
Listen,
Well,
I got to
but
say,
I think I agree with Lawrence actually, just to stay on point.
same. So
I
you
think
think you're all in the
DRC.
same WhatsApp group, right? That's what Lauren said.
I really love that phrase. I think it's really,
Yeah.
really nice. I'm gonna start using it. But in this moment, I do think I there's a part of me that thinks they could make the last four. I generally think so. I don't know about them winning it. But I think they're in a position right now that speaks volumes for get a result.
Hmm.
They've demonstrated this against Cameroon and Nigeria quite recently with the World Cup qualifications because that was the same attitude we brought to it that they will be the nearly men again, and yet this
Mm.
time they went all the way. So I feel like they have a little bit more confidence in themselves, and I think because of that, they could do it again against Algeria. But I think after that, they may be facing. Was it
The
Nigeria they
Super
could
Eagles.
face?
Algeria.
Super
Yes.
Eagles, yeah.
And I think because of that, I feel it's written in the stars that they'll meet again, and Nigeria will be rectifying what they feel was wrong. And so I think football has a way of recreating these moments, and it's for that reason I think they could make it past Algeria, but get unstuck by Nigeria. Make it past Algeria and then get unstuck by Nigeria in the next game.
Mm.
No,
I
I'm
think for,
gonna I'm gonna come with a counterpoint just for 30 seconds, Ali. I think they're not in the same group as South Africa and for the simple reason is I truly believe that the DR Congo will qualify for the FIFA World Cup. I think we'll see them go to Mexico, the US, and Canada. And we've had this debate before about is momentum important, is momentum not important, right? And I'm a big believer in momentum counting in a year like this. And I think DR Congo need to keep their momentum going. So they know that they need to keep winning. They need to keep testing themselves. So when they go to those qualifiers, it's like writing your prac exams before the real exams. You want the prac exams to be harder. So when you get to play that interconfederation game, you're going to feel prepared and ready to go and in a better place. And Wan Bissaka, Mbemba, Twanzebe, yes, no, Wissa. These guys know that this is an opportunity. This is their one shot at this golden generation doing something. They also have something to play for, like Sudan did. We all know
mm,
that this team are athlete activists. And we can get into why Bafana don't do enough, and we can get into why other teams don't do enough on this front, right? They're very happy to play football, and maybe it's not their role, and maybe they shouldn't do that, right? But I truly believe this team has something to play for and has the talent to back it up. So that would be my counterpoint as to why I think they can go out there and sort Algeria out. Watch
I think
Algeria.
I won't argue with you about sorting out Algeria. My point is, I don't think they can go all the way to win it, and that's why I agree with Lawrence
Sure.
that I don't
I,
think they have what it takes to win the whole tournament. But I think a game against Algeria, they can find enough within themselves to actually give. It's Mares to be. That's the person who wants to rectify since 2019 and kind of like say we can go on a challenge. They have too bad tournaments. They just want to this time at least leave with their heads up high. But I think they will get unstuck by Nigeria even if they get past Algeria. That's just
I
what I
think
think.
I think for me, the issue with DR Congo, right, is look, for me, they have the best defense at this tournament. I think when you look at the goalkeeper plus the back four, Tuanzebe has and Aaron Wan-Bissaka have, credit to them. Neither of them wanted to play for DR Congo initially. They both wanted to play for England, but fair play, when they've come in, they've both been such massive upgrades, right? So for me, you have this incredible back four. Masuaku's back after suspension, right? So for me, they have this incredible back four. They're defensively so solid. Where are the goals from Congo though? For me, this is the issue, right? First game, they score essentially because the Benin player thinks that a player behind him is calling him to leave the ball and he ducks his head, and then Bongonda finishes. Okay, so kind of a free goal. Against Senegal, the only goal they score is a rebounded shot that probably Mendy should have done better with, and then it's a tap in. And then they score a bunch against Botswana because Botswana are just, they're not at this level. So apart from that, in those games, right, against Senegal, I think they had, was it one shot or zero shots in the first half? They couldn't create anything. So I think for me, this is the issue is if DR Congo can get stuck into Algeria and stop Algeria from getting into any kind of rhythm, right? DR Congo have a chance, but it's going to be a 0-0. It's going to be a 1-0. They don't have the creativity. On the flip side, you have an Algeria team.
Is that a 10?
Exactly. Yeah, 10-0. on the
1-0 to the DRC, you say?
Exactly. On the other side, though, is you have an Algeria team that defensively, I think, have been better than DRC, right? Like, I think Algeria, for me, have been the best defensive side. Now, yes, you can say Equatorial Guinea did not put up the best, were not the team because of their preparations, and we're not as good a team. And Sudan, obviously, we're not a very strong team. Burkina Faso are a very strong team, particularly physically, but they're not a creative team. They're not going to create lots of chances. So, but Algeria conceded one goal, right? It's that screamer from Emilio Nsue. Aside from that, Burkina Faso didn't really create anything against them. Equatorial Guinea didn't create anything. Sudan, aside from that one chance that Lucas Zidane had to clean up, didn't create anything. But the difference is, right, is Algeria have players that can create stuff at the other end, right? Ibrahim Maza has been superb, right? It's probably going to be Mahrez instead of Anis Hadj Moussa. I would love to see Anis Hadj Moussa play. But you've got these players that can create those moments where, for me, Congo, particularly missing Wissa, they don't have that, kind of like what Lorenz was saying about Bafana. You don't have that player who's just going to have 1/2 second chance and put it in. So for me, I think it's going to be a knife edge.
I mean,
Look, Francis, I adore Gail
second lease of
Kakuta.
life, that kid when he turned up at Chelsea
Yeah.
was the truth. And now
Exactly.
he's like in a humble space. So if you're talking about making
It's
magic,
beautiful.
he can.
Now, Francis, I agree.
They just
I
need
love.
one goal.
Don't get me wrong. I love Gail Kakuta. And for me, watching him against Botswana cooking with that back heel was a joy. He probably won't play, right? He probably won't start because De Sabra wants to go with this defensive strength like he did in those first few games. Now, does he come off the bench and create something? I would love to see it. And I would love to see DRC go far. This, for me, is a super, super close game. And it's going to be a game that's decided by those fine moments, like the Bafana Egypt game, right? Where it's, whether it's a dodgy penalty, whether it's, whatever it is, it's going to be decided by that. I just think Algeria have it in them to have that moment on their side. We're talking about these intangibles of these teams that know how to get these moments, right? And I think that's why, so for instance, Mahrez is perfect, right? In the games that he's played versus Anis Hadj Moussa, 90% of it, I would say Anis Hadj Moussa has been way better. Electric, explosive, linking up with Bazasoa. Mahrez hasn't really done loads of that. But what has Mahrez done? He scored 3 goals, right? Like, he's just had those moments, and that's what he's brought to this team. So for me, that's where if that one is going to be on a knife edge, I don't think it'll be this entertaining, flowing game like the South Africa-Cameroon game. I think it'll be tight, cagey, brilliant atmosphere. I think it'll be the best atmosphere at this tournament. But I think if I had to put money on one of these teams to win right now, I would put it on Algeria.
Well,
Guys,
look, I'm going to come in
Zayn,
here.
I need to bring something in here quickly. There's not been any like major surprises in the competition one, right? And if you look at the teams now that's left here, if Congo versus Algeria, you would say that like on paper, like through maybe the last 5 to 10 years of African football, Congo would be considered as a second tier team. Algeria would be considered in the top tier teams. The
Agreed.
top tier
Agree with you.
teams, the top tier teams are generally not making any mistakes and going through to the latter stages of the competition. Egypt has proven that. Mali, second rate. Senegal, top tier now. Um, Look, in terms of South Africa and Cameroon, South Africa, in my opinion, are a second tier. You know what I mean? Nigeria, Mozambique, like you can see the trends going through, and that's why I don't think. Look, I don't think Congo has, like you said, a golden generation. I don't think it's a golden generation. I think the team is it's
Wow.
okay. I think it's okay. Like pound for pound, player for player.
If they
The starting
qualify,
eleven.
if they qualified for the World Cup, you're saying they're not a golden generation, Lawrence?
I think the players are just above average.
You
Like a
saying the
golden
team made a semi-final at the last AFCON on average? When you look at DRC, uh, recent achievement or past
above
achievement?
average players, like just above average. Like golden generation for me is like what Morocco will be in 4 years' time. You know what I mean? Like where every player is playing at the highest level, like Champions League finals, playing for Milan, Chelsea, Juventus, Arsenal. You know what I mean? That's what in my representation of a golden generation. And Congo have good players. Don't get me wrong, but if you look at the teams that are in this competition that are not floundering and not making any mistakes, like it's a tall ask.
Mm.
And if they do go to the semi-finals, the finals, it would be the story of the competition by far. Like I think yeah, they shouldn't be considered as these guys that can make it all the way
Well,
at all.
I
listen,
agree. I
listen,
agree.
listen, listen, my blonde-haired leopard. You better be here tomorrow to either eat some humble pie or give it back to me. Because I ain't buying it. And my final point, I think it's all relative what a golden generation is.
For sure.
Um,
Yeah,
if you compare on the whistle to the old one with me, Francis, Ahmed Yusuf, and Courtney Freeze,
we're in
where's
the
the
dumps
golden
now, Zayn.
generation? Is
We're in
that
the
the
dumps
golden
now.
generation?
Please, what was the golden generation you were hyping in the previous one? I'm asking. I'm genuinely asking.
Which was the golden generation? Where was I hyping Lawrence in the previous tournament?
Yeah, yes, 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 yes. No, or you spoke about the golden generation before. Is that what you were saying?
Yes, the
No,
golden
the podcast.
of the podcast was Francis
Oh,
But
Saeed,
before
Zayn,
me and you came, Lorenz, and
Courtney
ruined it.
Freeze, and Ahmed Yusuf, who I know you know as well. Was that not
yes,
our
yes,
golden
yes.
generation?
Exactly.
Or it was just like Morocco 4 years down the line with you and Ali and the old dogs out. Uh, anyway, I joke. These are two things because we obviously probably have about 10 minutes left before people have to go to bed and put their feet up and have a cup of coffee and biltong or whatever. And we'll let Lawrence rest. But we should talk Egypt and maybe a little bit of Cameroon and Morocco if we would like. But if the Congo win this entire tournament, Ali has to stand like the Patrice Lumumba statue because you're doubting it. You have to do that. Lawrence
With
take his
pleasure.
shirt off and dance like that dancer who's gone viral with his shirt off. That is like gotta be. I'm gonna say gotta be the sexiest Congolese dude out there. Just like dancing, moving every muscle and sinew. Have you seen it? Have you seen it,
No, no,
Lawrence?
the Congo have brought the vibes to the stadium. Honestly.
Yeah, this
Lawrence
is the
has
other
got
thing,
the
Zayn.
looks
It
already. He's got the hair, he's got the looks, he's got the body. It's cool, man. He's got this.
the,
He's got this under manners.
and this what I'll say, Zayn, is this game I don't think will be a very exciting game to watch. Like I
Yeah,
think Bafana and
I
Cameroon
think
were,
we're all in
but
agreement there.
I think this will be the best atmosphere of any game at this tournament because the Algeria fans and the Congolese fans, in very different ways, have brought unbelievable atmosphere. And the stadium that we're going to be at tomorrow, it's small, it's compact, it's like a proper football stadium. The energy just kind of builds really, really nicely, and I think it's going to be electric in that sense.
Absolutely, absolutely. Look, let's cast our eye on Egypt. Maybe we'll bring you in here, Lawrence, first. Mohamed Salah and the dream continues. But my oh my, Benin, I was not expecting it to be this way. You're talking about Egypt being a tier one nation. You're talking about them being a class. You're talking about all of this, but they needed extra time to come through here. There were lots of mistakes in this one. They weren't like this paragon of excellence in this game. Or am I completely underestimating a Benin team that had fantastic organization, really good work ethic? What have I got wrong here, or what have I got right here, Lawrence?
When have Egypt ever been an all like amazing performances going on to lift the title? They've never been a team that like wow, they're killing all the competition. They play terrible football and they manage to get through. That's how Egypt have won 7 AFCONs. Like they've never been a team that's played with flair and fluidity and Um, so for me, it's like it's not surprising. I don't even watch Egypt games that attentively anymore because I just know they'll find a way. I mean, the one where they reached the final in Cameroon where Senegal won, I think they won. Was it three penalty shootouts?
It was one extra time and two penalty shootouts.
You see what I'm saying?
Dreadful. Yeah,
The
it was dreadful.
haram ball
It
factor.
really was.
Yes, it
Oh
was
my goodness.
some of the worst football that I've seen at AFCON. And I think Gabaski, who came into the tournament as he's a second or third choice keeper, was like the hero all the way to the final. I'm so glad that Senegal won that game because obviously football reigns supreme. But Benin is a very plucky side. I think that obviously Ro, a top
Lorenz,
coach.
I got to come in quickly because this is an old friend who sits around our braai. His
Yeah.
name is Adam Aziz. You might have heard of him. And he goes, whoa, whoa, whoa. 06, 010 Egypt, especially 08, was attacking football and destroyed everyone.
Look, that is some of the African that's some of the football that made me fall in love with African football. I became obsessed with Egypt and Al Ahly also in the CAF Champions League just mainly because of Mohamed Abu Treka.
Yep.
And
Same.
there was some great forwards as well, like Gedo, Nagy, Mohamed Zidane as well, that scored, some worldies in those competitions. And yes, look, to an extent, they were much better than they are now and much better to watch than they are now, but they were never like, like a Nigeria or like a Ghana from '08
Yeah.
that really, like, I was like, oh my God, this football is so amazing. You know what I mean? But maybe that's because I'm from sub-Saharan Africa and the type of football that I appreciate when I say flair is a different type of football to a North African perspective. You know what I mean?
Sure.
So I don't mean any disrespect in saying that they were playing bad football or not scoring enough goals, but it's just a football that I appreciate with my own eyes. You know what I mean?
No, that makes complete
Yeah.
sense, Lawrence. Ali, it looked like you wanted to come in.
Yeah, I think like Egypt have been interesting this tournament, right? Because that first game against Zimbabwe, right? They approach it with this kind of expansive football with, Ashur, Trezeguet, Marmoush, and Salah all starting, and it's attacking. It's in that first half against Zimbabwe, they were so good going forward, but they were a shambles at the back, right? Like every time Zimbabwe attacked, they created chances. Every time they went forward, they scored. They nearly scored, and then obviously they do score with Prince Dube scoring. And then against Bafana, you guys kind of make them change, right? They go to that back five, and it becomes this kind of a kind of attritional football, and they get the better of you guys, right? But it was a great performance, particularly like Yasser Ibrahim and that defensive kind of block as a unit. They kind of went on the complete opposite end of things, right? And look, that game is also a bit of an anomaly because they get that red card and it changes things. It feels like they've just embraced that. Is that they've embraced saying like, look, we're going to be incredibly defensively resilient, and we're going to rely on moments. And it worked against Africa, and it worked barely against Benin today, right? Like, if there is a moment, wow, what a moment! That Marwan Atia goal. It's very rare that I see a side-footed long-range shot that I'm like, that is an absolute like hammer on that ball. But it was, and it was aesthetically just beautiful. Like the curve, this just pure power. And I felt really bad for the Benin goalkeeper because he was so furious at both goals, and it was like both goals he didn't stand a chance. The first two goals, and then obviously Salah's finish at the end was brilliant. I think, yeah, like Lorenz has said, I don't think Osman Hassan is like this great tactician. He's not an Eric Shell, right? He's a character. He'll say ridiculous things. He'll motivate his players and he'll get them up for it. And look, this Egypt team, I would say, unlike a lot of the Egypt teams in the last 5, 6, 7, 8 years, is they actually have the tools, right? They have the players. Ibrahim Adel, Emma Mashur, Marmoush in that first game was incredible. He was so good in that first game. He's not had a great tournament since then. And then of course Salah, where this is this new Salah where is even kind of accentuated the old one where it's like he is a guy of moments now. That finish of his at the end was brilliant. For a lot of this game, he was struggling. He was labored. There was really slow football, so I think it's the type of thing where Egypt didn't impress. And look, we have to give credit to Benin. I think that 4-0 loss to Nigeria in the World Cup qualifiers kind of has colored them negatively. Whereas I would say, with the exception of that, over the last 2, 3, 4 years, they have been very good, and very good in the sense that they are miserable, like defensively, just rock solid. don't play any attacking football. Everything is super direct. Let's not forget they were missing Steve Mounier, their center forward and captain leader in this game through illness. He missed the first game as well, which was a huge shame. So it's like they've been a bit unlucky. So for me, Egypt win very, very unconvincingly, but I think they have it in them with this formation, this defensive formation, and those players who have those moments to be a team that will make bigger teams and better teams than them. Because say, for instance, when they play, potentially Cote d'Ivoire, maybe Burkina Faso will get the better of Cote d'Ivoire. But if Cote d'Ivoire win, for me, Cote d'Ivoire are a much better team than Egypt. But the way Egypt are set up right now is they will make it a misery for Cote d'Ivoire to play against them. And I could see Egypt doing the exact same thing they did to you guys, right? To Bafana. Bafana is getting a dodgy penalty, scoring a wonder goal, just having one moment because they have the players to do that. Kind of like, they're almost the opposite of Bafana, like where it's a bit chaotic. It's not as good a solid team. Obviously, Bafana generally not right now, but you've got these unbelievable world-class talents that can do something from nothing. So for me, Egypt, unconvincing, but they will make it. I could easily still see them making it to the semifinals because they're an absolute pain to play against.
It's mentality, though. It's like they go into every tournament with the expectation that we need to win this. Where Bafana is like, oh, if we get to the semifinals, it could be considered as a great tournament. That's a difference in mentality from second rate and top tier African teams.
But I also think we've talked a lot about mentality on this podcast, and I think it's like that matters, obviously, the mentality. And Francis can speak to this better than any of us, coming from Cameroon, the land of mentality in many ways. But we look on the flip side, say for instance, Morocco is the opposite, right? Is they have this attitude where they should be winning and they should be the best, but they haven't been, right? Particularly in the African context, right? They're the great underachievers of African football. We were talking about how yesterday was only their 4th ever knockout win at the AFCON. Like that is genuinely embarrassing for a country of Morocco's standing, like in their expectation. So I think you also have to be aware that, say for instance, a team like Morocco, their expectations are kind of killing them, like because it's and I think we have to differentiate because their expectations coming from a place of like almost desperation, like they're like, we need to win this, we have to win it. Whereas with Egypt, and I would say Cameroon's the same, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, Francis, it's almost entitlement. It's like, of course we should be here. Like this is who we are, like we're Cameroon, we're Egypt, we should be here, and we will be here.
It's
and
like
like whereas
in the Champions League, like
exactly,
we need to be at least in the final every edition. You know what I mean?
And it's not
saying
Sorry,
I think you're spot on. You're absolutely spot on. I think there's something about Egyptian football. The thing we talk about jerseys and how they weigh on players. I think the analogy between Morocco and Egypt is apt because, like the Egyptians, Cameroon, we have the same thing. Sometimes you might have 3 or 4 players for whom the jersey is heavy. I think this this Egyptian team, they're comfortable with their jersey. They've had a bit of a challenging period. Let's not forget they haven't won since, when is it? The last one was like
2010.
Yeah, 2010 was the last time they won. So they have a pressure. But I think this time around, you're seeing the Egypt that is almost okay with the pressure this time around. These guys, there's a balance between the ages that they have. They have experience, they have youth, they've got a bit of everything. And the expectation for the first time for them is not as high. And so they're almost just like, we'll do the thing we're good at, we'll make it there. And they just keep believing. And so when it was like 1-1, there was something about it where you were kind of like, it won't end 2-1. And it didn't. It was like once they got the second, you knew they were going to get the third. And they couldn't have 4. And then you would have looked at just the result and, oh, wow, how did they do that? But I think there's something, and it goes back to what Lorenz was saying at the beginning. There's some teams that seem to have grown a habit. It's not for nothing they have so many stars on their jersey. It's because they know what it takes to win this tournament. There is that institutional memory within their structure. They have enough of the old guys who are still around in terms of their management structure. Sometimes it's even the videos, and those are the things we forget. The former players who are invited by the federation to be around, and they give these little pep talks to the players who play in the positions that played in before, and they tell them what they need to do to get over the line. And I, like you were just saying, you somehow you have a feeling you could still see them at the semis or in the finals. And if it's a bad day for others and a good day for them, they could win it because they have it in their DNA to be successful. So the challenge is almost on the opposition to say, prove to us that we can't just walk our way through because we don't entertain. And going back to what we were saying, kind of like at the beginning of this conversation, Egypt has never been the team that comes out to blitz the other guy and outpass them, and they're just solid, compact, and they go, okay, we're going to look for one goal. It'll either be individual brilliance, or you're going to commit a foul, and we'll get a penalty or a free kick that somebody knocks it in and it rebounds off somebody, but somehow they'll make it. And I think that's what today's game was like. But, and this is the but that I will insist on. The game we had against them, particularly in 2017, I think that was in the finals. They were beating us up until the end, and yeah, in all honesty, like, and I remember literally, I was thinking like, it's Egypt, and then there were like two guys sitting on the table next to me, and I just kind of, and I said it out loud, kind of like, oh, these Egyptians, they always just find a way to just win. And these guys turned to me and they went, and so do we. And it was almost like, and I had to check myself because I was almost like giving up. And he was like, why are you giving up? They haven't blown the whistle yet. And at the end of the game, I remember like we were hugging. These guys were just like, hey, you never give up. Like, it's like, and I thought, oh, and that's where I think the opposition that they will face need to have that level of belief. The Ivory Coast team, I think where they will come short is if they don't believe that they are champions. And I think even in the game against Cameroon, I was looking at them and saying, here's your opportunity to remind us that and this point in time where you were small brothers, but you didn't. And I'm like, they need to find that level of belief in self to really be able to say, okay, we're the elephants and we will stomp on you. And if they don't, that's when they'll problem with Burkina Faso, for example. They need to step their game up with belief. Not about talent. If it's man for man, they've got the players, But winning these tournaments is not about the talent pool. It's really about the belief you have in yourselves. But even if you're 3-0 down, you're still saying, it's okay. We've got 10 minutes. That's a lot of time. It's a different mindset. And you sometimes need those voices in the locker room, on the bench, on the pitch, people who've been there, to kind of like remind you that this is possible. And that's why I think it's an exciting tournament because Lawrence said this earlier on, all the guys seem to be delivering at present. And I think by the time we get to the semis, you may have teams that all believe that it's there here. And I think it'll be exciting no matter what.
And Zayn, can I just jump in? I know you want to wrap up. I know you want to bring in some comments. Can I just say, guys, the tournament, as Lorenz has said, has been at times maybe a bit underwhelming on the pitch because there's been no upsets. We haven't had your Mozambiques against Egypt, these crazy games. We haven't had your Gambias going far. Guys, can I just say, starting from tomorrow, the real tournament begins. Like, in the tournament, if you include, both Burkina Faso and DR Congo, Cote d'Ivoire, even these 10 teams, with the exception of maybe Bafana, these are the best 10 teams in Africa right now. There's no Guinea-Conakry sneaking into the top 8. There's no Gambia sneaking. As much as I love those kind of stories of like small teams making it far, like these quarterfinals and these last 2 round of 16 matches, there's nothing but like elite quality. Like this. Yeah, exactly. This is, and I don't know. I mean, you guys have longer memories than me. Like, I don't know if we've had an AFCON, certainly since the 2014 AFCON, where we've just had the final 8 are genuinely, it's all heavy hitters. Like, every single team is a huge team. Every single one of these teams could get out of the group stages at the World Cup. Every single one of these teams could, on their day, beat a huge European or a South American team. Like, so I just think it's not any analysis. It's just excitement. Like I just think it from here, this tournament gets crazy because every single match is heavy hitters against heavy hitters. The stakes are so high. Like as you know, we mentioned like 8 teams here, maybe even like more. That it's like, yeah, I can see them at the semifinals and reaching the final and maybe even winning it. You know, like this is the standard, and I think this is just. I think we should celebrate that.
All right.
And
We're
probably a reason why Morocco is not going to win this tournament because it's stacked. It's
well,
absolutely
Yeah,
stacked. There's no favorable
unbelievable.
run to the final anymore.
Ali's saying the pressure's getting to them. I mean, that's the big one here. Um, I was going to say, look, I'm going to give everyone except Lorenz maybe 2-3 minutes to think about the two form teams at the tournament on each side of the bracket and who right now they say going to the final. But Lorenz, I have two questions. One is from Rafense Mapeleng, and he said, "Is it true that Al Ali want to buy Teboho Mokoena?" Just a curious Sundown supporter asking. Any insight on this,
These are
Lawrence?
the important AFCON questions.
Look, I think
Lawrence, give us our transfer hits.
I think we're more likely to see Pizzo Musimani becoming Sundowns coach than Tebogo Mokoena in an Al Ahly shirt. So I heard like 2 weeks ago that the deal was this close to being finalized, and then a day later I heard false alarm. It's not happening anymore. So, but that one could happen. I think they smoked the peace pipe with Pizzo and Sundowns, but Tebogo
Wow.
Mokoena very very unlikely.
I, I thought whenever there's a lawsuit between you and your former club or owner that might end that, but what do I know? What do I know?
Maybe they look. I'm not privy to the information of what happened in the conversations, but perhaps there was a handshake to say, okay, you owe us so and so amount of money. Why don't you come work? And
We'll
that's the
pay you
way you
back.
pay off the
We'll
money.
pay you that way.
Yeah,
Listen, pizza back to Sundowns would be wonderful for me. And I know this for me. I know he's had great success, but some unfinished business there. Um, but as we sort of round out again, my other question quickly to you, Lawrence, is Mohammed Abutrika. He's someone who's we've mentioned earlier in the show. He's been very critical of one Hugo Bruce. I'm not sure if you saw his comments saying that he was hoping that Bafana get knocked out. He wasn't happy with Bruce's comments, criticizing the logistics, the training facilities, and the ambience, summarizing things Bruce has said during the tournament. And he doesn't feel like that Bruce has made comments in the best interest of African football. Has that made any headlines in the South African media, or are you guys still very myopic and only report on Sundowns and Chiefs and Pirates?
look, and
What do you mean Sundowns? Just Chiefs and
we
Pirates.
we 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 were sitting at the Four Seasons Hotel. Let me give you context to the story. We were sitting at the Four Seasons Hotel. We were about 5 or 6 journalists. And we were sitting alone there in a room with Hugo Bruce, and we're having like a very round table discussion, right? The question posed to him is, "What do you make of AFCON at Morocco?" And the question was mainly directed at to logistics, great facilities, whatever, whatever. He came out by himself to say, "I don't feel the vibe." That was never the question. And I was sitting there and I was thinking, like, this is typical you go to like go just go off the cuff and just say exactly what everybody's feeling, but nobody's saying. Do you understand? Nobody wants to say that because like you try to factor in like it's winter, it's this, it's that. Like I think winter is the biggest fact of the feeling not being like a previous AFCON where you in 40-degree heat and humidity and stuff like that. I think that's the only thing that's missing. And then you see, people outside until midnight and that's the AFCON feel, you know what I mean? But I immediately told myself like I'm not gonna post this. You know what I mean? Like and then somebody else posted it and it went viral. And I was like, you know what? I might as well just now do it. Because like I just felt it was going to attract unnecessary attention on the coach and on Bafana. And it did because
And it did.
we became the hate watch. The Moroccan fans packed that stadium against Cameroon just to hate on us and the coach.
They did.
And it backfired. And they asked him Mayer asked him in the press conference, "Do you regret what you said about this and that?" He just said, "I said what I said." That was his answer. So look, Bruce is gonna be Bruce. Like, and I don't think the comments were like bang out of order. It's just his opinion, and I think the negativity and like the criticism against him is a bit over the top. I think
Yeah.
it's mean like
But
Francis would understand who Hugo Bruce is, so he wouldn't like he'd just be like, ah, it's Hugo being Hugo. Whereas everybody else think, oh, it's a white European old man. Do you
well,
understand?
this is what I mean. He's got to be sensitive to how he looks in the region he's in.
For sure.
Mm.
But he's
Yeah,
an
but
old
he's
guy.
not.
He's,
Yeah,
he's
yeah,
not a
You've
he's
heard
not
about
sensitive.
teaching an old dog new tricks, right?
yeah.
Yeah.
Francis, you
Before he
teach
was
me
hired,
something
he's
every
doing that.
second day. I'm the old dog here, and you teach me.
Yes, you are.
All right,
And
Francis.
The
look,
old
he
elephant.
would say,
Go on,
I'm going to the
Francis.
World Cup anyway. So,
Well, listen, let's go round. We'll give Francis the first word. We'll put Ali in the middle, and we'll give Lorenz the last word. But who are your two form teams that right now you see coming through each side of the draws and playing in the final? Francis, go.
I won't sit on the fence. If I think, no, I can get past Morocco on belief, but I think if we meet Nigeria, Nigeria stump us. That means they make it into the finals. And then the other side, I think just have the sneaky feeling that Senegal just will just keep going.
Mhm.
And somehow it's gonna be Senegal Nigeria final, potentially. If Nigeria were to wear the Indomitable Lions jersey, I'll take it. But I'll say I think Senegal and Nigeria could be the team that make it all the
The
way.
two form teams right now. Ali?
Yes.
I think I would be blown away if Lawrence disagrees. Is Senegal are the favorites to reach it? Yes. And we've talked about how Egypt could maybe be an absolute nuisance. Yes, Cote d'Ivoire could step it up and remember that kind of elephant spirit that got them to the last AFCON final. But Senegal are just the most complete team. So for me, Senegal from that side. And let's not forget, Zayn, logistics matter, right? It's a boring thing to say, but logistics matter. Senegal have played every single game in Tangier, and they will play every single game in Tangier until the final, and that does matter. On the other side, that's where it's a nightmare to call. And I still think this is maybe a bit bold because they haven't even got to the quarterfinals yet, but I still would put my money on Algeria being the ones that reach that final. But that side draws just is just
All
a
right.
nightmare like to
All
predict.
right.
Any of them could do it.
All right, I'll come in before going to Lawrence to round us up. But I guess this is the time I say we're going to see Mali and the DRC in the final. Congo, right?
Now that would be amazing. It won't happen, but it would be amazing. I would love that.
Underdog supporting
Yeah,
Ali Sope.
exactly.
Don't encourage him.
I thought
I'm
I
going
thought the
with that.
question is who you thought would get to the final, not who you want to be in the final.
No,
I'll change my
these
answer.
are the
That's the
form
question.
teams. These are the form teams. I'm going with them. Mali and DR Congo for the final. Lawrence, be the voice of reason.
You guys are writing off
Guys, I'm going to tell you now, it's going to be Egypt versus Morocco. It's
no.
got to be a North African derby in this part of the world. These teams know how to win, and they just keep rolling.
For sure, for sure. But listen, you also forgetting about the nobody even mentioned the name of Les Stallions, Burkina Faso, who have always been there and thereabout in the latter stages of the competition. But I do think like when this competition started, I said Cote d'Ivoire, Senegal,
Mhm.
and Morocco and Algeria were going to be like my semi-finalists. I think they have the best squads in African football at the moment. But yeah, like you made a joke, but I do think there's going to be at least one North African team
Sure.
in the final. Whether it's Algeria or Morocco, I don't know. And then on the other side, I can't look at past Senegal. Like, yeah,
Mm,
the squad is just so
Can't.
good.
it's stacked.
It's just
Yeah.
so good.
Every single position they have two
They
players,
stacked.
if not three. Like
Yeah.
They stacked,
it's outrageous.
yeah.
Guys, it's been a pleasure.
Yeah.
This was meant to be 30 minutes. We're bang on and closing in on an hour. Francis, Ali, love chopping it up. We'll be here tomorrow night. Lawrence, please get well. We need you fit. We need you firing. We need you going healthy. We still haven't spoken
Episode
about
sponsored by Strepsil.
your bus journey. So at some point, maybe during one of the 4 weeks, you'll hear about Lawrence's epic road trip, which started in, remind me the starting country.
Cotonou.
In
Cotonou.
And
in today's match.
In Cotonou, Benin, where I was stuck for 5 days because of a coup d'etat.
listen, so Lorenz has got enough to write a book, so I'm not going to ask him to write
to
that
feed
book.
into any stereotypes. So this is good.
Welcome to
Seriously.
West Africa.
Honestly, I'm not going to lie. This is my parting shot. I was worried about Lorenz. I was messaging him a lot to go like, you need me to talk? I will
Yeah,
talk.
seriously.
Let me know if I need to tell someone
Yeah.
something. Let me know if you need me talking. I mean, we just can talk about what happened. But that was obviously
Does
there.
South Africa have means that could have flown in and done something?
Well,
Kidnap the president.
Because you got to bring out your passport then to get something done. Like, what were you planning on doing?
It's a story for another day. Let's leave it to
Exactly.
that.
Guys, he's traumatized. He's traumatized. Leave him alone.
Lawrence, go and rest up. Francis, thank you again for coming on. Ali, you're our man on the ground. Well, and also Lawrence, our man on the ground. But thank you for all your hard work. Go and have some rest, and we will see you around the bright tomorrow. And for those of you listening and watching, post your comments, leave your reviews. We'll get to the mailbag, the good, the bad, the Ali, at some point. We've run out of time today, but we do respond to you. So please respond to us, give us your predictions, and keep interacting. OTW_podcast on X, on Instagram and TikTok, or just search for the On the Whistle podcast on Facebook and YouTube. Salah Gashle